Hi, Tony DeWitt here. I'm a retired Missouri appellate attorney, and I like to make the law make sense. So if you'd like for the law to make sense, stay tuned. So this is part 2 on the Shaver trial and on the direct and cross-examinations and what the lawyers did well and what they did poorly. I am making this video because I think it has a lot to show about artful kinds of examinations that are done in trial and inartful ones. And one thing that I have always believed is that it is okay to be a little bit off your game, have a little bit of disorganization in your questioning and maybe go back and forth a little bit. Sometimes you do that, frankly, to keep the witness off balance. But what's not okay to do is to deliberately try and pull the wool over the eyes of the jury, to convince them that something happened that clearly didn't happen. And so the last thing you want to do is cut a witness off so that you can score a point on cross-examination. One of those aha moments where somebody, you're a liar, and then only to have it come back in redirect where the people get out and say, well, you did say that, but then you also said this, right? Yes. And then you said this, right? Yeah, I did. So what he's doing here isn't going to work. And of course, that comes out. One of the things that I think is not well recognized by people who select lawyers is that how likable your defense counsel is, or in a plaintiff's case, your plaintiff's lawyer is, has a lot to do with the degree of success you are going to have in a particular case. If you have somebody who is cross and argumentative and who handles witnesses with disdain, kind of scowls and sneers at them, I think it really takes away from the presentation of the evidence. When I was discussing this video with my wife, I told him that my impression, and I don't mean to impugn the man because I know he was trying his best to help this client, but he came off looking like a Disney villain. And specifically one of the Disney villains from 101 Dalmatians. And when you get a chance to see this guy in profile, you'll certainly understand why I say that. The thing of it is, if you are not careful in how you approach witnesses, in how you talk to witnesses, and most especially how you judge their tone, right, then you can come off as a bully. You can come off as somebody who is clearly trying to hide the ball. And of course, that always works against you. So one of the issues in this case is that between Michael, the ex-husband that was killed, and Travis Filmer, the current husband, there was a boyfriend, a guy by the name of Jereme Townsend. And they had a short affair. And she wanted it to go on. He wanted to end it because he wanted to go back to his wife, who was the mother of his children. And that wasn't what she wanted. She used her ex-husband's telephone to access Facebook. And she used Facebook to send Facebook messages to Vanessa Townsend, the wife of Jereme Townsend. Except Vanessa wasn't looking at these Facebook messages, probably because she didn't really use Messenger. For whatever reason, she didn't do that. At some point, it became necessary for Laurie to send flowers to Vanessa Townsend. And this is the result of that interaction.
Now, the card that came with those flowers, did that include a message?
It did.
And can you go ahead and read that message to the jury, please?
Right.
That's okay. Ms. Townsend, is this a difficult day for you?
It is. It says, roses are red, violets are blue, my wife is a your husband is too. Sorry about this. Check your Facebook message. We need to talk, Mike.
Sometime after that, did you learn that your wife found out about the affair?
Yes.
And how did that come about?
My wife contacted me April 12th, 2016. She had received flowers.
And then did that expose the relationship between yourself and Laurie Shaver to her?
Not at first, because she asked me who Mike was. I did not know who a Mike was. Once she checked her Facebook and seen the messages from Mike, it started to come out.
And that was when?
April 2016.
At any point when you were over at the Shaver residence, was Michael Shaver there?
No.
At any point did you arrive on a scene where Michael Shaver had been shot?
I say what?
At any point did you arrive at the Shaver residence or any other place where Michael Shaver had been shot?
No.
At any point were you involved with any sort of altercation with Michael Shaver?
No.
At any point did you shoot or injure Michael Shaver?
No.
At any point were you involved with disposing of the body of Michael Shaver?
No.
And after the affair was exposed, what happened with your relationship with Laurie?
I cut it off.
Now, I've never been able to understand how a person could cheat on their spouse and not expect to get caught. Anytime you become involved with another person, part of that mental bandwidth that would normally go to the person that you are married to starts going to someone else, and pretty soon a larger portion of it than you would even like starts going to that other person. And the distance that occurs in your principal relationship is such that the person pretty quickly figures out something's going on. But in this particular instance, he was actively trying to break off this relationship so that his wife would not be hurt. And then this happened, right? She sent this note of flowers to her and basically brought it out in the open. And then in addition to that, if you stop and think about it, the poor woman had to come in front of everybody in the county where she lives and talk about how it was that she found out that her husband was cheating on her. And now this gentleman is having to come in and say, yes, I was a scoundrel for, cheating on my wife, but I did try to break it off. The message that gets pushed out to the jury in this is Laurie Shaver is not a nice person. She's also very manipulative, and she will do whatever it takes to destroy somebody else's marriage so that she can glom on to whatever happiness she might be able to get out of that relationship. That did not work out for her, but it is an indication of just exactly how low she's willing to go in this situation. Now, you can argue that that's bad character evidence and that it should have been excluded, except for the fact that she used her ex-husband's phone and made it appear that he was involved in her life at the time that this happened. Except the state's case was that he was already 3 or 4 feet underground becoming worm food at the time that this all happened. So that made it relevant in terms of the killing and the timeline, because she was obviously trying to establish that he was still around at this particular time, kind of setting up an alibi maybe, I don't know. But for whatever reason, she did this thing, and this entire case doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Her initial description of this is that her 8-year-old daughter shot her ex-husband because he was abusing her, in which case you have a defense of others' defense, and there's no need to hide the body. You simply call the police and tell them what happened. But that's not what happened, or at least apparently that's not what's happened. And the young lady the young daughter was more than willing to come in and vouch for her mother in this instance, as I think most children who love their parent would be. It is also a testimony to the degree of manipulation and power and control that her mother had over her. 10, 15 years down the road, she's going to wake up one day and say, boy, did I screw up. But Fortunately, I don't think there will be any criminal problem for her in this particular case. But now let's watch the cross-examination done by the defense counsel here and watch how inartful it is and watch what he is trying to accomplish here in terms of setting up the idea that this particular witness is lying about the time frame. Keep in mind that they have the text messages, and the text messages have already been read into evidence at this point, so we know what the timeline is. And the idea that you would use this to try and impeach him over the timeline when the messages and the text messages are already in evidence indicates a lack of logical thinking and careful preparation, at least in my book. So look at the cross-examination, and then right after that we will have the redirect.
Your position, we've heard on your direct examination that you met her in September of 2015, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever made a statement inconsistent with that?
Not that I'm aware.
Not that you're aware of. Okay. I'm going to show you your deposition, page 5, beginning on line 11 through 12. I want you to read that to yourself.
What line?
11 through 12. Does that refresh your recollection?
Hang on. It just goes on to say how I met her.
I asked you, have you made a statement inconsistent with that September of 2015 date? In fact, on line 11, you state, I met her in the park. I don't know when. I mean, it was a long time ago. Correct? That was your statement earlier in time, correct?
Correct.
Now, we're at trial years later, and you've got it pinpointed to a particular month and year, correct?
I don't have to pinpoint it.
You did. On your direct examination, you said September of 2015, correct?
As I went back.
Sir, did you not say on direct examination September 2015?
Correct.
Did you not? Earlier, you're telling me I don't remember when. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there's this big aha moment. You're saying something different now than you said previously. But as you might guess, because the text messages are already in, he probably looked at those well before he got ready to testify because the state would have made those available to him. The redirect here absolutely undercuts the narrative that this gentleman was trying to, Mr. Weeks was trying to suggest to the jury.
As far as September, your memory about when you first met Ms. Shaver at deposition, you said you didn't remember, and today you said that you first met her in the park in September of 2015. So what happened in between the deposition and today that helped with your memory?
Went back through all the old text messages to refresh my memory because this is 9 going on almost 10 years ago. I don't remember everything I did during that period of time. So to refresh myself, if I was asked that question, I would know how to answer it. So I went back through all the old text messages and figured out when I seen Miss Shaver.
So I ask you, my subscribers, did that impact your view of his credibility? The fact that he said something different and then the explanation was given afterwards when it could have just as easily been given during the actual questioning if the individual had given him the opportunity. Well, I know in my mind it just makes him look more honest because he didn't fight with the lawyer. He waited for the prosecution to come back and rehabilitate the answer, because the fact of the matter was he did find out or did go back through and look at the text messages. And he was, of course, asked about the text messages while he was on the stand. There are a lot of things you can do to help your client. You can challenge bad facts. You can certainly take on witnesses that you believe are lying or that have significant holes in their story. But what you can't do is take on somebody like this who is a sympathetic witness. He was an Iraq War veteran. He's medically retired from the Army because he got shot through both legs and through his side. The man has had a pretty rough run of luck, and in spite of doing a bad thing, he did come back and try and repair his marriage. So I have to give him high marks for that. And I think, everybody forgives one mistake, and that's all he had to be forgiven for. It's an interesting thing to me that lawyers try this, that they try the aha moments when rehabilitation is so easy on cross-examination or on redirect, where you simply come back and say, there's a reason why you didn't say that, right? Yes, because you didn't know then, right? But now you know, right? Yeah. For example, there's this.
In that deposition, tell Mr. Wiggs repeatedly that you do not know when Michael Shaver was killed.
Correct.
And that statement that Mr. Wiggs was reading about, I have evidence that I was nowhere near during the time frame or whatever happened to Michael Shaver, did you say at least 4 times after that you did not know when he was shot?
So there's not a lot to be gained by doing that, and lawyers make a mistake, and I think they honk off the jury when they do that. And I think if you watch the closing argument in this case, and I'll have a video on that too here in a little bit, I think when you look at that, you realize that this lawyer didn't have a lot to work with, and he was just taking on the things that he could get. He was getting the free throws because he couldn't get close to the net anywhere otherwise. That's what I have for you today. That's the end of part 2 on the cross-examinations and directs of these witnesses. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, drop them in the comments down below, or if you like, you can email me at the address above. Of course, I always appreciate it if you like the video and let somebody know about it. And if you have the opportunity today, do something nice. Go out of your way, do something kind for someone. Kindness is never repaid. It's only passed on. So pass along a little kindness today. And then tomorrow, come on back, catch me down here at the beach, and we'll talk about something else. I shouldn't have to say this, but you don't seek legal advice from a guy down at the beach. You seek it from a lawyer in a lawyer's office, where there are people running around in suits and secretaries and all kinds of other people. I'm just a YouTuber. I'm a retired attorney at this point, and although I retain my license to practice in the state of Missouri, I am not here dispensing legal advice. I'm just offering general content on the law. So please don't take anything I say here as legal advice, and if you need legal advice, see a lawyer in your jurisdiction. And keep in mind that if you don't have money for a lawyer, if there isn't a legal aid society that can help you, often law schools have clinics where student lawyers can represent you in court, and often they do an awesome job. And here are some videos that YouTube thinks you may enjoy.